I'm moving on to speak to Stephen Kapos, who's on the call, I think. Stephen, are you there?
I
am. Thank you for coming on. And also we're joined by Agnes, Kory, who's not been on the show before. Are you there, Agnes?
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, we've got both of you on now. The reason I wanted you to come on to the show is that I'm alarmed to see that this week the police have issued this statement. Now I'll just show you this statement. This is regarding the protest, the national protest, which has been going on since obviously October 2023. It says the Met uses powers to prevent protests gathering close to London synagogue. This is the Metropolitan Police's own website. The Met has issued its powers under the Public Order Act to prevent the Palestine Solidarity Campaign forming up in the vicinity of a synagogue ahead of its planned protest on Saturday, 18th January. The group had asked protest participants to gather in Portland Place outside the BBC from noon ahead of a march to Whitehall. This is a quote from someone in the Metropolitan Police within that article from them. We have taken into account the cumulative impact of this prolonged period of protest, often taking place on Saturdays and on numerous occasions in the vicinity of synagogues. We know this has been a cause of increased concern for many Jewish Londoners who have altered their plans, avoided parts of central London, and reduced attendance at religious services. Now, I'm just totally astounded that this has come out at this point. The idea that there's a cause of concern for Jewish Londoners. Stephen and Agnes, who are both Jewish and parents, not parents, were actually Holocaust survivors. What's your take on this, Stephen? There you are.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that the police's attitude on this point is part of a continuum, really, which started with the right wing's efforts to demonize and stem the repeated great protests as hate marches. And it started with Suella Braverman particularly strongly, and he really made an attempt to ban everything. And at the same time, they were also attacking the police for being too soft on the left generally, and these marches in particular. And so, in a way, they intimidated the police. And the police, in turn, is intimidating the rest of us. It's a kind of double-edged thing. And, of course, these have never been hate marches. And as you probably know, and others know, that we have a small group of Holocaust survivors and descendants of survivors who together stand with placards pronouncing who we are and why we are there, that we are against, as Jewish survivors and descendants, against the genocide. We stand by the big marches and get the most warm reception from them, invariably, and sometimes quite moving. People are so thankful for us making it clear that not all Jews, in fact, not probably the majority of Jews, support the Zionist project and Israel's actions of a most dreadful genocide, which is going continually as we speak, and is in danger of becoming normalized by the press, the mainstream press dropping its interest, etc. Yeah. It is terrible. And I want to show you, as a reminder, some people have seen it. This is the
No, you got the right way. Yeah, there. That's fine.
Yeah, it can't be read, but we have these placards hanging from our necks saying, in my case, this Holocaust survivor says, stop the genocide in Gaza. So it's absolutely clear who we are. And I repeat to say that we have proven this way that we are welcomed and not rejected by these marches and the pro-Palestinian movement generally, and quite the opposite. And also we are proving that these marches are not unsafe places, as it is claimed, for Jews, quite the contrary. Now, there are counter demonstrations occasionally by the Zionists, or I would say repeatedly, and most of the time the police separates them, which is a good thing, because their intention lately is to mingle and provoke the marchers, and thereby creating some kind of incident, which would be a justification for saying, well, these are unruly events to be banned. And one of the fairly recent such occurrence was what the CAA's chief executive, Gideon Folter, has made in trying to barge into, that's the best way to describe it, into a march saying, I have free movement at all times, at all places, trying to provoke a physical reaction from the crowd. And luckily the police prevented them, for which they had been initially very much criticized. But when the footage of the actual event was shown in full, everybody realized that the police were, in this case, except for using one unfortunate phrase, were acting correctly in stopping him. And in fact, some fairly senior policemen afterwards say he should have been arrested, this character, Gideon Falter.
Yeah, yeah. So, Agnes, can I just come and ask you, as a Holocaust survivor, I mean, these marches are important. It's important for you to actually speak out on this, isn't it? Because of what you've experienced. So, in trying to subdue protests, they're actually taking away your rights there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, I am like Stephen. I'm a Holocaust child survivor, younger than Stephen, but I'm catching up. I'm also a voluntary Holocaust researcher, admittedly, basically mainly focusing on murdered Hungarian Jewish composers and musicians. But through that, I did get and do have a very, very good insight what happened during the Holocaust committed by European Nazis against European Jews. And it is because of that that I'm utterly heartbroken about what's going on now in Gaza. It is, for me, just unbelievable. Now, that is the reason why whenever I can, I do go on these marches and similar events. I just like to pick up something about the police because that's the reason why I was invited today. As Stephen already mentioned, the police is being intimidated. The police relies on the chief rabbi and then the board of deputies, and perhaps one or two similar people or organizations. So this is one thing. They don't take into account other Jewish views. There are at least 8 quite significant UK Jewish organizations who have a different view and who do march on these monthly or whatever demonstrations. Now, there's also this thing that what I think is the project fear. It is likely that quite a number of Jews are really scared because I come across them, because I go to synagogue. And I'm not surprised. I just want to make one, I would like to quote Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, the chief rabbi, according to the Jewish Chronicle in October 2024. So it's not even 2 months ago. He was saying that the Israel conflict was a fight for survival for Jews, for Israel, and all of humankind. Now, if you are a religious Jew, go to synagogue, and your chief rabbi says, fear, we have to support Israel whichever way because we are fighting for humankind, there is an issue. So I just wanted to mention that.
Right.
Also, just on a lighter note, the Jewish bloc on these marches is quite significant in number. I'm just wondering how many people worship on a regular Saturday in the central London synagogue, because I have a feeling that the Jewish bloc far outweighs the number in the central London synagogue. So I wasn't trying to defend the police, but I fear that they are being given not accurate advice, and they not looking for alternative advice, and I think that's a problem.
Now, the statements that's come out from this is from Stop the War. I tried to get someone to speak from there, but I couldn't find anyone. It says, "Stop police ban on 18th January Palestine march. The Metropolitan Police are trying to stop us protesting at BBC Broadcasting House next Saturday. We agreed the route with the Met in November. Now they're claiming we can't assemble there because we might disrupt a nearby synagogue, which isn't even on the route of the march. We don't accept this excuse. Our marches pose no threat to Jewish people worshipping. The Met must not misuse public order powers to shield the BBC from democratic scrutiny over its coverage of the Gaza genocide. Help us push back against the police ban." It says a few points: complain to the Metropolitan Police, email the BBC, circulate a letter. It's all on their website, or you can get it on their social media page. What will you be going? Would you go to this demo, Agnes, if Stop the War decide that they'll go, even if the police say it's not allowable? Would you go if Stop the War are going?
Well, I don't know how I would be able to do that physically, because if the police says they're banning it, I guess there will be a huge number of police standing there. But I'm just hoping that they will change their minds. That's all I can do now.
Yeah. And Stephen, what's your perspective on this? Do you think that you would turn up if Stop the War decide they'll go, but the police are still saying no? And if we had enough numbers, do you think that would be a good idea or not?
Yes, I would definitely turn up. And the march itself is not in question. I think it's just where it's starting from. And also there is a general issue about precedent, because if the nearness, not even on the route, but nearness of this synagogue is a good enough reason to ban this locality, then how many other alternative routes with synagogues nearby could also be used in the same way? So it is a struggle over this ban, which is of greater significance than this particular one occasion.
So it's almost like this one is a test case in a way. If they can stop this one, then they can almost do any one, because there must be synagogues in lots of places.
That's right. That's right. And can I just add something about my motivation for attending these marches, which is a bit, I suppose, somewhat personally unique, because I have a heightened sense of empathy with what goes on in Gaza at the moment, because in 1944, during the Hungarian Holocaust, when it was reaching Budapest, it started off with the various humiliations and restrictions against Jews, having to wear the yellow star, etc. But later, towards the autumn and over the Christmas period and beyond, it was overlaid by the local climax of the fighting between the occupying German troops with some loyal Hungarian troops in support against the Red Army, the Soviet forces. Notwithstanding that they were by then totally overwhelmed in terms of relative forces, and they were also completely surrounded. They made a last stand around the hills of the Buddha Castle, where we were in hiding. So the front line, so to speak, went through us. And I had seen the combination of this intimidation and discrimination, etc., plus total destruction. The destruction around us was much greater than in Budapest in general, because this was where the climax of the fighting was. And it created the kind of piles of rubble and total destruction of buildings. And we went through a period of no services, no electricity, no heating, no water, etc. So it was a similar experience, and having to escape from place to place a number of times because we were bombed out or in danger or one thing or another. So the experience, almost, I would say in miniature by comparison with Gaza, was very similar to what they are going through. So it really rhymes with my feelings about it.
Yeah.
Can I also add something, please?
Yeah. Just before you can finish,
Okay.
you can finish the discussion, Agnes. Is that right?
Okay, because I also like to say something. I want to return to my theme of today, that the police listens to the wrong kind of Jews instead of listening to alternatives. After the Hamas attack, that is 17th October 2024, 8 very highly ranking Jewish judges published a letter in the Financial Times, and they warned Israel what they should do, what they should not do. I think it was mainly what they should not do. And they warned Israel that they have to follow the international law and rules of war and that sort of thing. But I don't think that the police listens to this sort of people yet. One of the signatories to this very detailed open letter was Lord Neuberger, who was the former president of the Supreme Court, and, listen to this, Richard Hammer, who is now our Attorney General. So I would like to know what is the advice the Attorney General gives to the police, bearing in mind the letter which he himself signed in the Financial Times, trying to get legality and democratic processes everywhere. So here I rest my case.